Hey there, Zamoras. I'm just going to make you a video. I know we're not going to be able to meet, so thought I'd walk you through some of the programming. So key must be on for Yamaha gauge, and there we got it. Fuel levels coming across the network. I have programmed depth, which we're out of the water, so that'll come to life. But it's going to be as simple as we press and hold, and then we select water depth. For example, this is fuel economy. It's a good one to see how efficiently you run in the boat, miles to the gallon. But all of the top three, we can just push and hold, change it to total fuel economy. So it's both engines going to be recognized. You could change the background if you want to, just options, background, and then you can go white, you go carbon, you go brush metal. I'll leave you in carbon. That's pretty much everything on this page. I'm going to take you home here. And so I want to teach you a little bit about pinned. Pinned is like your favorites. And so right now we have none. And so we'll start here. Chart, I would typically use the fishing chart. So we just press and hold. And then up comes add to pinned. And then we're going to go into radar, press and hold, add to pinned. Then we're going to sonar, press and hold, add to pinned. Combos, we'll do a chart sonar combo, add to pinned. And I don't see, there it is, chart radar combo, add to pinned. And then we go into vessel. Vessel, I'm going to see you using the Yamaha gauge page, add to pinned, and I'm also going to pin at the end this engine page. I'll show you why in a minute. So now when we go to pin, this is our list of favorites. And so if we work out of here, say we go to chart, right, and then we're there, and then we go home, and we can go straight to boom. The other thing is now you'll see here, we are in the listed order. So right now we're in radar. So on either side, if we go close out, we're going to see chart on this side, sonar on that side. So now we can go from one to the next without even changing anything. Okay, so next I want to show you, by the way, I'm available by phone, and you saw my display, so I can hop on there. If you have any questions, just reach out, and if you're on the boat, I can be on my display and walk you right through anything. But this is a default setup, and I would recommend changing my preference. I'm going to show you how to do it, and you make it what you like. But I like to make, instead of the four corners, I like to make it a sidebar. So if we right here hit options, and then we're going to edit overlays. That's overlay data, these four corners. And then instead of data corners, we're going to go data sidebar. And so now it's in a row like this. From this point, we can either just go right here, and I can just press that and go down. I like to put the depth in the top right corner of every page, because that's the one we want to be able to grab like that. So depth in the top right corner, the next thing we usually want to see. So the other way we could do this is right from here. We can just press and hold. The next thing we typically want to see is how fast are we going, speed. And then we've got water temp. I like to put in the system voltage. And then a couple other things I think that might be handy for you is fuel, total fuel economy. And then also fuel, tank level, analog, believe it or not, is the one I prefer because it gives you the level plus the percentage. So every page, that's how I would set it up, and you can kind of see it's simple stuff, but we need to make every page the same. We don't need to, but I recommend it so that as we go from page to page, you're not having to figure out where you are and what is where. You can just make them all the same, so as you go from page to page, it'll be the same. So then I'm going to go into kind of more chart functions. So once again, options, layers, chart. So tides and currents, if we go here and hit, anytime we have an option and we turn it, once we turn it on, it'll highlight green, and that'll bring up that sub menu options. So we hit that, And I'm gonna turn on what we call tide sliders. I'll show you what that is. If we zoom in, they do go away as we zoom out, but now that we're zoomed in, what the tide sliders are, these little guys here, and those are actual tide stations. And here we can see the tide here is on its way up, and pretty much at max. The amount of blue that's filled into the rectangle shows us how much the tide level is. You know, you could, by bringing it close, you might, can't get a perfect picture, but the more white in this area you'll see is, you know, if I go upriver here, we'll probably start to see it. Well, I'm probably just going to confuse here. Yeah, so maybe here you can see there's a little bit more white, so the tide isn't as high, but the triangle pointing up, meaning the tide's on its way in, as opposed to over here, we can see the tide's on its way down. So that's the tide sliders. If we move the map anytime, we just move it. We've done what we call panning, and so we're just gonna hit stop panning, recenters us, and brings back our data bar. Okay, so we're gonna go back into options, layers, my vessel, heading line. So this is a cool feature. You can just, so once again, you know, I turn it on. Sorry, get the camera right. Turn it on, brings up the sub menu. We hit it, and then so right now the distance is in feet. I would recommend in miles, and I would make this 0250. And the reason I do that is because here we are, and you can see there's our heading line, and it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 miles. So this can not only help you if you wanted to go to this point, you lay that heading line on it and you can see I'm going the straightest distance, but also can give you some idea of like what kind of range, how far away, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So that's heading line. Once that's on, you know, we can just turn it on and off, and those settings will hold. Sometimes I'll make that heading line 5 miles if it's more applicable. Usually I make it 25. So that's that. I'll leave it on for you. Going back, is there any more here? Everything's on here. I typically turn the restricted areas. If we hit sub menu, we pretty much want to know anywhere it's restricted for any purpose. So I turn all of these on except for other. If I turn other on, it puts all these weird triangle mark things on. I don't think you want that. And speed. So that's our restricted areas. There is a chart card that can be either purchased or also downloaded through Active Captain, which I'm going to go over here in a bit. So let's go into my vessel. That's everything there. Water, depth shading. Okay, so that's going to make anything below. Let's just go see. If I go home, settings, preferences, navigation, auto guidance. So anything that's below 6 feet is going to be what we are going to be in red on the chart. So, you know, I do this to trick it in a way, because there's this feature that I'm going to show you. I'll show you right now. They call it auto guidance. So say we want to go here today, right? So we're just going to touch the map where we want to go, and then up comes auto guidance. We select that, and then it builds a route knowing that we need a minimum of 6 feet depth, 15-foot overhead clearance, and then we can just go over here and hit start navigation. Okay, it's just telling me I'm in shallow water. We're still on land here, so that makes sense. So a couple cool things this does is, for one, if you're going somewhere you haven't been, it gives you knowledge of a safe path. It also is going to tell us right here, this brings up this nav bar, and it's going to tell us the distance to travel is 33.4 miles. If we were underway, it would tell us at the current speed we would get there at this time, and, you know, course and bearings to drive. You know, just follow the pink line as our route here. So, you know, if we zoom in, you can see where it took us, you know, out the channel and around. You can also go in, if you had a preference, you could you can touch the route along the way, and there's a way to adjust the path, and then we're just going to pull it over there, right? So now so if you wanted, there's that option too. Resume navigation. At any point you're like, okay, I'm over this, or I'm done and I want out, right? Here's the navigation triangle like we see on our phones with a stop sign around it. If we hit that, that kills that whole auto guidance route. Okay, so that's pretty much everything here. We're gonna go into radar next. Okay, so radar's on. These are the AIS targets. We can go over that here in a second. Why don't I just do it now? I don't want to forget. So if we were to select any of these green triangles, which will be as they are closer, these ones are red because they're within a proximity of 500 feet is what I've got it programmed. It gives the ability to turn this alarm on and off based on AIS vessel within a certain proximity, and then you turn it on and off. But if we were just to select one of those, then we come up with AIS vessel. And this is one of the coolest safety features available. You're in trouble, you highlight that target that's close to you, and now comes up call on radio. Because it comes through VHF, that knows how to put your VHF in touch with theirs and give you direct communication where you might have to guess the channels and hope and all of that. Meanwhile, AIS vessel, this is the status. This one's sleeping. It's a pleasure craft, so it gives you some of the information about it. And then I'm just going to stop panning. Okay, so radar, just right out of the gate, we got to turn it on, transmit. Okay, so we transmit the radar, and we're just going to spin it up, and there we are. So a couple of features that we have here. Motion scope, right now we're on land, but if you were underway, you're going to see anything that's in red is going to be a dangerous target, and anything that's green is recognizing as a target that's going away from you. So it's just color coding. They call that motion scope. Blue is it's deciding red bad. Blue is deciding green, you're safe. Then we have the trails. Trails are going to be, once we pick up a target, is going to leave a little tracer behind it. As it goes along, we're going to see where we first picked it up, leaving a trail behind, a tracer, and just kind of shows you the intentions of the other vessels you're picking up. Two other things we're going to talk about here. We got two modes. We got high seas mode and rain mode. So both of these can create phantom targets on the radar, because the radar it works off of reflection, and so if we get the tip of a wave up high, we can reflect back, and then you're going to see like it comes up here and then one comes up there. And so if we tell it we're in high seas, it'll filter that out as best as it can. Raindrops in heavy rain can also give you some phantom targets as well. So if you're in heavy rain, you can turn that on in heavy seas. And then if the gain, this is just how sensitive it is. Auto high, you can go, we hit that. You can go auto bird gain if you're looking for birds, auto low, and then you can also just manually adjust the gain. So I just turned it up a little bit, and so that's crazy, right? So then we're just gonna go down till we're liking it, so it's still a little much. In fact, I'm just gonna go back to auto high. Auto low. So that's as clean as it gets. It's not going to be as sensitive and pick up every little thing. So things to play with. But that's radar 101. There is an option to do what's called radar overlay. That's going to be this one, radar overlay. I don't typically recommend it unless you're maybe out in the ocean, but see, we're going to have to be deciphering what a radar target is versus, all of this land clutter or AI. If we were on that just radar screen, anything that isn't black, it's something to watch out for. So this can be the safer version. Garmin would also tell you for accuracy for the radar overlay that you should have a heading sensor. You know, it's going to be a minimal amount of variance. I see that it works actually really well without it, but just to be known. So that's radar. We'll drop into sonar. So this transducer is powerful, and what that means for you is that it should not be left on while the boat's out of the water. It's so powerful that it uses the seawater or whatever water it's in to cool it. So right now you can see transmission is disabled, and then the type of transducer. So the quick step to do that is if we just go over here and a quick press of the power button brings up enable sonar, and you can do some radar to standby and backlight. That quick press of a power button brings up this menu. So could be one day you get to your screen, you were coming in, it was dark, so you had it way down back, and then it's black screen. If we were to press, quick presses on the power button will full backlight it. But also is just access to backlight in general, where now we can, you know, adjust the backlight accordingly. I'm gonna put it all the way up. And then from there, there's gonna be, you know, some gains. The frequency, high chirp, you can put 200 kilohertz. You know, each transducer is gonna have some different options, but these are your options here. Zoom, this is if we're in a more depth than we are, you know, we're going to zoom in on a certain area. Range, auto, so right now it's in 100-foot range. As we're in like 10 feet of water, you'll see this. It won't just be like 90 feet of nothing. It'll make this scale 0 to 10 all the way here to here, maximizing the usable area. Also an option to turn your transducer on right here. I'm going to go in and sonar setup, noise reject, interference is on low, smoothing. I want the smoothing to be, let's just start with medium. These are places that you can play around with if you're not picking up what you know, you can just kind of play with it. But you'll see if you smooth it out, it's going to give you a cleaner image. And then the surface noise, I would remove that too. But those are things I've changed for you. You could also play with the interference, go, you know, into high, low, medium. Those are kind of where you would play to kind of get the sensitivity dialed and the clarity desired and whatnot. Appearance, you know, you can do some A-scope, which is kind of cool. This is like a ping. I honestly am not super familiar with what that does, but I see a lot of people turn it on. And you can turn depth line, so it'll show you the actual depth. You know, play around with this stuff and see what works for you. Overlay data, we're gonna just go ahead. So the stock version is it comes like this, where it's giving all of this data. So what I like to do is just, I'll show you where I did that just so you're clear. Options, sonar setup, appearance, and then we're going to go into overlay data, and we just don't show it, hide it. We turn that to hide, 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 and hide. And then the reason I do that is because I want to make every page the same. So now we go into edit overlays, data sidebar, and then it's going to be back to the same as our other pages, just like that. And then we just go in, well, we want depth. So we go down to water depth, and then we want GPS speed, it's already there, but boom, water temp, system voltage, fuel economy, I've already done some programming on this page, and then we're gonna make this one tank level to match your other page, analog. Okay, so that's chart sonar. One other thing I forgot on the chart, when we have the tide sliders on, it also is going to bring up all these little colored arrows. These arrows are the current. Funny, the current's going that way here and it's going that way there. So you can use this to help know, like, well, if I want to get there, if I'm going with the current, obviously is better. So if I go out on the outside here, I can get in the current, as opposed to you'd be fighting it here if you're going that way, right? The yellow, orange, and then potential for red. Yellow is going to be 1 to 2 miles an hour, orange is 3 to 4 miles an hour, and red is indicating 5 and more miles an hour, or nautical miles per hour, depending on your choice of current. I will show you where you can switch real quickly now that we talked about that. So if we go home, then we get our settings, and then preferences, and units, system units, so we can go statute, metric, nautical. You know, I relate myself more to statute and miles per hour, but you can absolutely make it kilometers, or you could make it nautical miles. So I'll put you in statute, and you can, you know, choose to change it from there. So that's that. Another thing I wanted to talk about on chart is waypoints. So we can, anytime we want, we commonly would, like if we're crabbing and we're about to drop a pot, we drop the pot, we hit mark, and that'll put a mark at the boat, wherever the boat is. Meanwhile, we could also just touch the map wherever we want, say waypoint, say waypoint. And then so it just added that. And then this 0001 is our first one, so that's it. If I select it, this is the waypoint. From here, we can go in and we can edit it. We can change the symbol and make it a different symbol. It'll tell us what the depth was and the water temp was. You could add a comment, the position. You could even name it. So that's that. Meanwhile, if we want to get rid of it, here we are. If we just close out and back, so we would select it. I go over here, find that waypoint. It was right there, wasn't it? Nope, there it is. So this is our waypoint, 0001. I'm gonna touch it. That brings it up. And then here we can go delete the waypoint. Yes. Okay. Another fancy thing we can do on the chart, a couple options. So right here where it says toolbars, we click this. This is a Yamaha toolbar, which if we push this button, we'll add that permanently, not permanently, but add it to the bottom, or we can put that Yamaha bar to the top. So for example, if I put that to the bottom, and then we go toolbars, and then we have media or stereo, and we add that to the top, and we stop panning. So now we have stereo control on top, and at any point we can just hit on the stereo. For whatever reason, you touch anywhere and it full screens and brings you to the stereo controls and close. So one touch to get to there. But for the toolbars, Yamaha, so here's the Yamaha on the bottom. The Yamaha bar, we have to hit the full screen button and then close. So it gives you the ability to have some basic information and drop in and out. I'm just going to take that away, and media, take that away. I am going to leave you with the media on the bottom, just kind of remind you that it's there if you want it. It is kind of cool because now we can, you know, touch it. We can go into zones, like here, the cabin, turn it up and down, aft deck. We can go into options and, you know, audio levels and, you know, whatnot. Pairing your phone, it can be done through the stereo unit, but it's easier here just because we're big screen. So if we go into Bluetooth right here, and then we go into connections, and then we make it what we call discoverable. This will then come up on your phone. I programmed it to say Defiance 250. So that's what's going to come up. And then you'll just pair your device. Meanwhile, we have paired device. So that's me. And I'll delete that out when I'm done here. I'm rocking out. Close. And then on the media bar, you can mute and unmute right there. you get volume controls, track forward and back, and then once we aren't muted, this is like what's playing. So that would be kind of what you get. And then I'll pause. Okay, so radar, we talked about pen, sonar, combo. You might find you want to add a combo. If you just go add combo, you're gonna go here and you're gonna pick, if we hit the layout, you can pick one of these templates. I'm just gonna choose this one here, and then we just tap, and I wanna add, I don't think there is an actual fishing chart one with radar, range A. Nope. Nope. I messed that up, so we're just gonna go back into here, options. Options, nope. We gotta go home, press and hold, edit combo. I wanna make this radar single range, range A, done. And that would look like this. And then actually I'll just go here and I'll edit combo. I'm gonna change the name here to fish chart. And I like to put a little dash, radar, and then done, done. So now when we go home, we'll see fish chart radar. I'm gonna throw that in the pinned, add to pinned. Sorry, I'm trying to do too much here. Keep the video where you can see. So now I'm gonna go to pinned. I'm gonna get rid of this one because I think you're gonna prefer the fish chart. It's the one that brings in the depth, contour, shading, and whatnot. So I'm gonna erase this one, remove pen, and then I'm gonna press and hold this one, and I'm gonna go rearrange, and I'm gonna say I want this one right there. And so now, because you want to put these in the order that you commonly use, and you might have a different preference, but that's kind of having your combos next to each other might be a good way. Okay. Oh. All right, vessel, you got media player here. You can go to stereo controls. Another thing that's cool, engine. So this is gonna be Garmin's default page for engine. So the one page looks just like a Yamaha gauge. This is a generic gauge page, we call it. And so we've got tachometers, we got temps. I'm just going to throw in some oil pressure here. So replace data, engine, go down to oil pressure. Let's see, there's a reading there. Oh, I didn't get it. Replace data, engine, oil pressure, starboard. And then we go over here, replace data, engine, oil pressure, port. Replace data, engine, oil pressure, port. There we go. And then this one we could go replace data, engine, let's make it trim, port. And then this one we'll make the same, replace data, engine, trim, starboard. This one I'm going to make, there's only certain things we can put in this style of data field, and temperature, water temperature, I just know is one. And let's just make this the actual replace data, fuel, tank level. So the reason I'm showing you this is here, we actually get to see the port engine is at 37 degrees. It just gets to a point that it's cold. It's not that cold here today. It's actually warm. Once the engine's running, you're going to see like an applicable, instead of when we're, you know, like the Yamaha gauge, we just have bars. I did program actual voltage numbers, but bars on the oil and temp. And here we get actual numbers that sometimes could come into play and be like, see what is the actual temperature instead of just high to low bars. So we can go here and we can add a page, edit gauge pages, add a page. This one here I think is what I'd like to see. And I'm gonna throw in, so we got range, that's based on how much fuel you have. fuel economy, port, fuel economy, you know, I'm going to program total fuel economy. We put engine hours. You kind of get the gist of how to program it. So, yeah, why don't I just do it here? So we got speed. I'm going to go here, replace data engine, and RPM, port, replace data engine, RPM starboard, odometer, sure. Let's go here, replace data engine, engine hours, port, replace data engine, engine hours starboard, fuel use, let's go, replace data engine, let's put in some voltage here, voltage, port, replace data engine, voltage starboard, replace data, and then under system we can do unit voltage, the voltage to this device, which is everything on the household side. Then we've got range. We can go here. I'm going to replace data with fuel, engine fuel economy, port, and then I think that's what it was, and then replace data, fuel, engine fuel economy, starboard, vessel range, and then replace data, fuel, tank level, and then close out. And so this is what it would look like. We've got our engine hours, we've got voltages on both engines and display, range, fuel level, fuel economy. So could kind of compare, like if one's working harder with the port and starboard fuel economy versus it totalized, and then odometer. So just another version of gauge page. Whoops, let's go back over there. So now that we made another gauge page, you're going to see we can toggle between the pages. So this is one page, and then this is the other page. VHF, this is pretty straightforward, but as you see, we got the latitude, longitude. You know, you got your volume, and then you click it in. That's your squelch. If it's, you know, too much static, you squelch up. And if you're trying to pick somebody up far away that's coming in a little bit static, you can squelch all the way down. It will come through with static, but you'll get as much as you can out of it. Got your speakers over here. Got the windlass installed yesterday. You can see out there. The switch there. This is steering fluid. I had to relocate because the VHF going here with the wire nice and out of the way. Just kind of give you an idea what I did there. Got the radar. The VHF antenna, you can see, is at a little bit of an angle, which I would probably recommend. It'll keep the antenna from wanting to put as much wiggle as you hit waves, having a little bit of angle, so it's kind of at the angle you're hitting, if that makes sense. Also know this guy, you can just grab onto this and you can pull it over for transport, just like so, and then just raise it back up. It is very stiff, but it's intended to be. Got your spotlight and whatnot. If you guys end up with any questions, just feel free to reach out. I think that's, oh yeah, got the battery chargers down here. Windlass, in-house breaker. So the windlass, I would leave this in the off position, which is by hitting the red button, and then we swing this. That activates the windlass, and this deactivates it when the gate's down. What that does is two things. One, corrosion will happen at a much greater, faster rate at the windlass if it's energized all the time, as opposed to if it's only energized when you're using it. And the other thing is, so now when I hit the button, you'll hear a click, but it's not, if somebody accidentally hit that windlass button, it's not going to deploy the anchor. It should be safetied off anyways, but it's good habit to just, when it's time to anchor, go over, hit the breaker, come back, use it, and then deactivate it for safety. I'm going in here. Still got some zip ties to clip, but you'll see I got all your fuses here for the add-on stuff, VHF, AIS, the 8616 plotter. This is NEMA 2000 back here. And then stereo radar searchlight. Up here there is this fuse is jumping power to the windlass switch. If you had problems with the windlass, you could check there. Over here you're going to see I pre-wired the RGB lighting, and that's these wires here. If you were to get an RGB controller, it's all connected at the speaker end, and that controller is going to give you 4 wires. It's going to be a red, a green, a blue, and then there'll be a 4th wire. It'll either be black or white. The way I wired it is there's a red, a green, and a blue, and those are all going to red, green, and blue, and then there's a yellow, and that yellow you would attach to either the black or the white. Might be kind of cool to look that up, later. But just so you know, it's all hooked up at the speaker end, so you're ready to light it up once we add that controller. I think that's about it. We're still under construction, but we're getting close. Talk to you guys later.